Welcome to Movie Teller. Today we're recapping the movie called The Watcher. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
The movie begins with an eerie voiceover about a mysterious forest in Ireland that doesn't appear on any map. It's said to lure lost souls, and those who enter never return. A man runs frantically through the trees, breathing heavily. He arrives at a marker that reads, "Point of no return 108, sets his watch timer, and pushes forward. Moments later, he finds himself back at the same marker. Confused, he climbs a tree as the sun begins to set. Suddenly, thousands of birds take flight, sensing something approaching. He climbs higher, but a branch snaps, and he plummets to the ground, breaking his back. As he struggles to reach his bag, an unseen force drags him into a pit. Next scene, we are introduced to a young, beautiful woman named Mina. She is burdened by guilt over her mother's death, works at a pet shop for birds. Her boss asks her to deliver a parrot named Darwin to a zoo near the Irish countryside. Before leaving, she tells the parrot, "Try not to die," and it repeats the words back to her.
Try not to die.
Driving through the countryside, she stops at a gas station and listens to a voicemail from her sister, urging her to move on from their mother's death after 15 years. As she leaves, a missing persons poster lingers in the background. As Mina continues her drive, she enters a dense, unfamiliar forest. Her phone signal disappears and her car engine suddenly fails. Frustrated, she steps out, hoping to find help. She spots a marker that reads, "Point of no return 12, and thinking someone must live nearby, ventures deeper. Calling out for assistance, she gets no response and decides to turn back, only to find no trace of her car. Panic sets in as she realizes she's lost. Suddenly, she sees a figure in the distance and runs toward it. The figure turns out to be a blonde woman who urges her to run inside a nearby door if she wants to live, beginning a countdown from 5. With no other choice, Mina sprints into the shelter just in time. Inside, she meets 3 strangers, Madeline, Chiara, and Daniel. Confused, she asks where she is. Madeline explains that they are in the coop, a shelter where they must stay each night. She warns that it's important to follow the rules. As night falls, they stand in a straight line before a large one-way mirror. Madeline reassures Mina that, while this will be terrifying, she will survive. The Watchers, she explains, cannot enter but will observe them until sunrise. Suddenly, loud applause echoes from the other side of the mirror, as if welcoming Mina to the show. At dawn, Mina, determined to leave, picks up Darwin and sets off to find her car. She follows the sun, hoping it will lead her out, but instead, she reaches a dead end of steep hills and valleys. Defeated, she returns to the coop, where Madeline approaches her, surprised by her escape attempt. She explains that everyone has tried to leave, but the forest is deceptive. It plays tricks on the mind and can drive people mad. However, by learning its patterns, there is hope. She points out landmarks, forming a nearly perfect circle, explaining that staying within the boundary offers a chance of returning before nightfall. But stepping beyond the line means there is no turning back. Mina asks who built the landmarks, and Madeline simply responds, "They call him the Professor." Madeline leads the group into the forest to gather food, instructing them to return in 2 hours. As Mina walks with Chiara, they collect herbs and talk. Chiara shares that Daniel has a mental illness, but is kind. She also reveals that her husband John once left to find help and promised to return. She then takes Mina to a dark pit known as the Burrows, explaining that it's where the Watchers hide during the day. When Mina asks how long she's been trapped in the forest, Chiara admits she's lost track of time, but estimates around 5 months. That night, as they prepare dinner, Madeline warns Mina about the rule. Never turn your back to the mirror, never open the door after dark, never go near the burrows, and always stay in the light. The Watchers allow them to live only because they follow these rules. Determined to uncover the truth, Mina convinces Daniel to help her investigate the burrow. Though hesitant, he agrees. Tying a rope around her, he lowers her into the pit. Below, Mina finds remnants of past victims, belongings, an old camera, a teddy bear, even a rusted bicycle. As she lifts the bike up to Daniel, a deep, guttural growl echoes from the dark. She turns to see a grotesque hand reaching toward her. Panicked, she calls for Daniel, who quickly lowers the rope. As she scrambles up, the creature retreats into the shadows. Madeline asks Mina where she found the item. Mina hesitates but lies, saying she discovered them under a large rock in the woods. She suggests using them to escape, since making it out on foot before sunset is impossible. Before Madeline can respond, Daniel calls out, urging them to come see something. As Chiara walks away to check, Madeline turns to Mina and presses her, sensing something is off. "You saw something today, didn't you? Something that scared you." But Mina remains in denial. Inside the coop, they find that Daniel has built a makeshift surveillance camera using the items from the burrow. He wants to use it to finally see the Watchers that night. As darkness falls, they sit in tense anticipation, watching the monitor. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, a loud bang shakes the door. It sounds like someone knocking. Madeline warns them not to open it. No one survives the forest after sunset. This is a trick, but as they listen closely, the banging is followed by a desperate voice. It's Kira's husband John, crying and pleading for them to let him in. The camera screen flickers, showing only his feet standing outside. Ciara is overcome with emotion, rushing toward the door, but Madeline blocks her path. Ask him a question only John would know, she demands. Through sobs, Kiara asks, "What book am I reading?" John hesitates, then stammers, I don't know. Please, just open the door." Growing more suspicious, Ciara tells him to kneel down so she can see his face on the camera. As soon as he does, an unseen force suddenly yanks him away, and the screen shatters into static. A terrifying silence follows. Then, a violent force begins pounding on the glass wall, attempting to break through. The group stands frozen. Then, just as suddenly, the pounding stops. The next morning, Madeline wordlessly gathers the bike and other items and throws them back into the burrows. She turns to Mina. "Did you break the rules?" Mina remains silent. A flashback reveals a pivotal moment in Mina's childhood. She sits in the passenger seat while her mother drives. Playfully, she sticks her hand out of the window, letting the wind rush through her finger. Her mother, slightly irritated, asks her to roll it up. "Please, my hair will get messy." Mina defies her, mimicking her words in a teasing tone. As her mother scolds her, she momentarily takes her eyes off the road. The next moment, a devastating crash. An oncoming car collides with them, and Mina's mother doesn't survive. Overwhelmed with guilt, Mina has never forgiven herself. Snapping back to the present, Mina marks trees as she moves through the forest, trying to create a path. Returning to the coupe, she finds Kiara devastated by the previous night's event. They talk briefly before Kiara suddenly walks out. Realizing something is wrong, Mina follows, only to find Kiara standing at the edge of the burrows, ready to jump. Mina desperately pleads with her to step back. Before she can convince her, a chilling scream rings out. They rush toward the sound and find Daniel has lost his mind. He has tied Madeline to the ground. Before they can react, Daniel bolts into the tree. Mina quickly unties Madeline, and they sprint back toward the coupe as the sun begins to set. But just as they reach the entrance, Daniel slams the door shut, locking them out. "You broke the rules," he chants from inside. "You broke the rules!" With no choice, Mina and Madeline hide beneath a large, fragrant tree, hoping its scent will mask them. The forest falls into eerie silence. Then, a monstrous figure looms over Mina. Its elongated limbs twitch unnaturally, and its hollow eyes scan the dark. Madeline clamps a hand over Mina's mouth to keep her from screaming. The creature moves on, stretching its impossibly long body as it approaches the coupe. The watchers gather, grotesque and towering, drawn by the presence of only Kiara and Daniel inside. At the sound of a guttural cry from the leader, they scatter in all directions, hunting for the missing two. Seizing the moment, Mina and Madeline rush to the door, pounding on it, begging Daniel to let them in. Desperate, Mina finally reveals the truth about her past, how she caused her mother's death, how she has carried that guilt ever since. Something in her voice breaks through Daniel's resolve. Slowly, he unlocks the door. The moment they step inside, Madeline orders them to stand before the mirror. Then, she finally reveals the truth about the Watcher. "I was a professor," she confessed. "I studied folk mythology. Unlike you, I came here on purpose." One night, she saw something, a perfect replica of herself. Moving, blinking, breathing. The Watchers are not just observing, they are learning. They are mimicked. They want to become us. Before they can process this horrifying revelation, a deafening noise erupts outside. The Watchers rush toward the coupe in terrifying numbers. Their voices echo all around them, distorting and overlapping in an unnatural symphony of stolen speech. The pounding on the door returns, stronger this time. The mirror trembles under repeated impact. Amidst the chaos, they notice something, a loose carpet on the floor, revealing a hidden door beneath. With no other option, they pry it open and scramble inside. As the last of them disappears, they seal the hatch shut just as the Watchers finally breach the coupe. Below, they find themselves in a bunker filled with old supplies and computers. Mina stares at a dusty monitor, then powers it on. A grainy video file plays. Day 1. A man appears on screen, introducing himself as Professor Rory Kilmartin. He speaks of the Watcher, explaining that they are not mere creatures, but an ancient species capable of mimicking humans with eerie precision. He once captured one, a small girl-shaped entity. As the video progresses, it shifts from scientific curiosity to paranoia. In the final recording, Day 300, a gaunt and broken Rory appeared. He speaks in a trembling voice, confessing that he has lost his humanity. "They took everything from me, but there's still a way out." He reveals a boat, hidden at point 134, the only chance of escape. Before the video ends, he gives one last instruction: destroy everything. Erase all records of this discovery. Some things are best left in the past. The screen cuts to static. Then, 2 gunshots ring out. The next day, they leave the bunker and begin running through the forest, following the marked path. They arrive at point 134, where Mina releases Darwin from the cage. The bird takes flight, and they follow its path, leading them toward the river. As they run, the sky darkens, and thousands of birds suddenly take off, signaling that the Watchers are coming. They pick up speed, running as fast as they can. At the riverbank, they search frantically for the boat. Daniel hears his name being called and turns to see John, bloodied and crawling, pleading for help. Ignoring the warnings from the others, Daniel rushes to him. As Mina and Kiara call out to stop him, John suddenly snaps Daniel's leg and slits his throat. His body contorts and shifts, revealing his true, monstrous form. From the tree line, more Watchers emerge, silently watching as Mina, Kiara, and Madeline push the boat into the water. A Watcher steps forward and takes Daniel's form. It lets out an eerie roar as they drift away. By dawn, Mina and Kiara find themselves in the city and board a bus. The passengers stare at them strangely. Mina goes to the university, pretending to be the cousin of Professor Rohr. Inside his office, she finds a box filled with books and an audio recorder. The recording speaks of a scroll that reveals the history of the fairy. The professor describes how they once lived among humans as guardians, friends, and even lovers. Those born of both human and fairy blood possess the ability to transform, even to replicate the dead. When humans turned against the fairies, the halflings were cast out. History claims their bloodline is extinct, but that remains unproven. The professor's true motive was not just to study the Watcher, but to bring back his dead wife. Mina returns and tells Kiara everything. They discover an old photograph of the professor and his wife, who looks exactly like Madeline. Researching further, they find that the woman in the picture died of lung cancer. Confused, Kiara points out that Watchers cannot walk in the sunlight. The realization strikes: Madeline is a Watcher. They wait for her return, knowing they have brought something dangerous into the real world. A car pulls up and Kiara steps out. But inside the house, Mina realizes she has not been speaking to the real Kiara. The moment she opens the door, Madeline shifts into John's form and knocks her unconscious. Mina wakes up to find herself being dragged. The fairy speaks of how they were once like God, only to be cast out by humans. Now that Mina knows the truth, she cannot be trusted. She pleads, but the creature refuses, saying humans have betrayed them before. Taking Daniel's form, it thanks Mina for helping it escape. It speaks of suffering in the wood, abandoned with no place in either world. The professor had promised to help, but later turned against it. Taking his form, it confesses to killing him when he tried to shoot it. It will not be betrayed again. Mina tries to escape, but finds herself face to face with her own reflection, her Watcher double, standing behind the mirror. The creature grips Mina's throat, declaring that it will take her place in the world, and no one will notice the difference. Mina reveals a secret the professor never told her. The reason she can walk in daylight is because she is half human. As this truth sinks in, the Watcher's body begins to change. Wings burst from its back, and it looks at Mina in shock. She tells it there may be others like it out there. The creature hesitates, then leaps onto the roof, its wings unfolding fully. Before flying away, it says, "I hope you're right, Mina." Mina rushes to wake Kiara and embraces her. Later, she tells her twin sister everything about the past trauma she faced in the woods. A little girl with red hair stands at the window, turning slowly with an eerie expression. Thanks for watching this recap. Please subscribe to our channel.